Okay.
Welcome, everyone. This is Adam Beebe, and you're here, be it live or in a recording, that's on latonas.com for the open house for the website practicallyviral.com. We're joined by both sellers, both owners. On the page here, you see Talon. We're also joined by Brian. If you would, guys, please say hi.
Hey, how's it going? I'm
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Talon.
And I'm Brian.
And a little housekeeping for people listening live. If you haven't already dialed in to the audio bridge, please do so now. You can use the mic on your computer. Everyone's going to be muted except for me, Talon, and Brian on the call. If you have questions, use the functionality in the GoToMeeting software. Uh, we usually field all the questions within the course of the call. If your question hasn't been answered, I should say, trust me, it's going to get asked at the appropriate time. But go ahead and type in the questions when you have them, and they'll definitely get asked. And there'll also be a last call for questions at the very end here. What we are talking about, the website, and this is a page out of latonas.com that you can access. These hyperlinks are breaking down the monthly and revenue, expenses, uniques, and page views. Talon and Brian have been both been very good. We have through December, through last month. This is a new listing, but they've been very good as far as providing accurate data quickly. But this is the trailing 12 months of revenue, expenses, uniques, and page views. It is a advertising site, so to speak, and that's how it's not an advertising site, but that's how they're generating their revenue. They'll explain a little bit more the relationship they have with a company that they pay to place ads. Really, that's what I got. As far as anyone listening to this live and recording, all you need to do is sign up for a Latona's account. That takes 32 seconds in providing your email and then responding to an email that we send you. Without further ado, and Talon, Brian, you're both going to be off mute. This is a bit more of an internal thing between or among myself, Talon, and Brian. I'm going to put myself on mute so there's no ambient noise while you're talking. You're going to hear a slight delay while I'm taking myself off mute. You haven't lost me, but especially as it relates to the admin section, I'm going to put myself on mute. But guys, Talon, Brian, what we have here is the history of the site. Why don't you spend a moment telling us how Practical Viral came about and what's happened since it's been live. So take it away.
Yeah, this is Talon. I started the website about just over a year ago, just as kind of, a way to share articles that I found across the internet that I thought, would other people would find as interesting as I do. And from there, it just continued to explode. And the traffic just kept doubling. Of course, at the beginning it was small, and now it's gone up into the millions. But I ended up I went to high school with Brian. Brian and I connected around, what would you say, Brian, like 6 months ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like 6, 7 months ago, and really just kind of continued to put more effort into the site as it grew. And to be honest, it just continues to grow. But the biggest thing that we run into is that this thing could really just be taken to the next level, and we just don't have the time to do so. So, which is why we're now here at Latona's, and we definitely think this site has a lot of potential. In the veins of Viral Nova, Distractify. We like to almost say this is like a miniature version of BuzzFeed. And yeah.
Great. The aforementioned pause there. That was great. That's really all we need. What I'm doing is showing now the Facebook page. You have quite a few fans. When did you start up? Did you do it concurrently when the site went live?
Brian, you go for this one.
Sure. Yeah. So the Facebook page was started when the site went live, and the way that we've really grown the fan base is we actually have a plugin on the website, and so what that does is because, you know, we can write 10 articles a day and maybe one or two actually, you know, start to pop. And when we see a website or when we see an article particularly, you know, pop a lot, that's when we'll turn on the plugin. What the plugin does is when someone's reading an article, after let's say 7 to 10 seconds, a pop-up will come up saying, "Hey, if you like this article, like our Facebook page to get all of our articles." And we've seen a huge amount of growth by using that plugin. And the Facebook page in general is the main source. It's the main way that we reach our fans and we reach, you know, the social media landscape. So we share every single article that we write on the Facebook page, and, you know, depending on how the Facebook algorithm works with the particular post, people will like it, people will share it, and the idea is the more shares that you get, the more that it will spread out through Facebook, and in turn Twitter, Pinterest, email, Reddit. But as far as like gaining traffic to the website, Facebook is our primary focus.
Okay. And this is archive. Anyone can go to the Wayback Machine here. Have you really changed up the business model or the site since you've had it? I know we're talking about a short period of time, but have you been doing what you're doing ever since the inception?
Yeah, we've been doing the same thing since
Yeah, I'd
inception.
say so.
It's just been about just growing our user base, and you know, we've just gotten better and better at trying to figure out what articles, you know, uh, tend to tip. We find that, you know, things that are relatable and have to do with animals or babies tend to do the best,
Yeah.
believe it or
Yeah,
not.
that's right.
And you know, we in terms of strategy, you know, we just try to study, like we test out A/B test different titles. We find that titles and, you know, the images that you use for Facebook can really, you know, change how much traffic or the types of traffic you get. I mean, you can kind of, you know, gear a post to make it appear more sappy and sad or more funny and goofy just based on the title and the, you know, the type of image that you use. So, you know, it's just about testing out, you know, different titles, different images, trying to figure out, because we found that we've done a post that 6 months later, you know, does, you know, 600,000 unique visits. So, you know, it's just really, you know, trying to figure out, you know, there's really no like definitive answer to what goes viral, but based on some of the data that we've been able to you know, kind of put together ourselves, we're able to, whoever purchased this, kind of, you know, dive into kind of what we've done in the strategies we use to make posts go viral. So
Okay, fair enough. Um, a lot of traffic. Um, I mean, that's by post, I would imagine. It's more just the, you know, how much traction a post gets. Is there anything more to it than
yeah,
that?
yeah, and this is just being 100% honest. You know, when it comes to our traffic, you know, you can see in the chart, the bottom right, it's new visitors versus returning. The majority of our visitors are new. We're not like a, you know, what I like to call a top five blog, which means a blog, the top five blogs you look at when you wake up before you start doing your work. But that doesn't mean this can't become that, and that's the goal. Um, but currently, all of our traffic is in hits, which is why sometimes revenue is up in spikes, sometimes it's a little bit down. That's why revenue doesn't continue to climb. You know, the same way like a news publication like Elite Daily or, you know, a TechCrunch or something like that would, because they're growing returning visitors. Whereas we, you know, 1 month we might have a post pop, like Brian and I like to say, and we'll get 600,000 you know, uniques. And the next month we might have one that gets 1 million, and then one might get 300,000 the following month. It's just, you know, it, it, it it's really just trying to figure out and trying to stay on top of the cusp of what is the next thing to go. Because if you can do that, and trust me, there's ways that we do this, and there's sites that we use it, and there's There's nothing, you know, what's the word? There's nothing like everything we do is authentic. There's
Nothing
nothing
black.
that is
Yeah.
uh, no
No black.
black hat, nothing trickery. We don't, it's not like we do clickbait or anything. I mean, everything we do is it's just really about finding, authentic content before other people do and being the first to distribute that content.
Yeah, and I would jump on that too and say, one of the big sites that we use is Reddit because, you can really find, early posts that are rising towards the front page, and if you get that post, that video, or those pictures before one of these other websites do, and you share it, and people see that, and no one else has it yet, that's when we really start to see these pops. So it's like, it's really important to stay, like, I mean, Tal and I both work in social media professionally, and, it's really important to stay on top of what's trending every day, what are the big sites talking about, but then also, diving into Reddit where new content is discovered every day.
All right, makes sense. Vast majority of your, I mean, very desirable countries that your traffic's being derived from, obviously overwhelmingly the U.S.
Yeah. Any
Anything
thoughts
that
on
you
this?
can do that you can expand into other markets?
Absolutely, and this is something we've actually thought about. There's two ways to do this. One way would be to kind of create, we've thought about, obviously, we kind of rope United States, Canada, and United Kingdom into the same loop because they're all, the majority of the population of those countries speak, English, but in Australia as well, but like, and India actually. But when it comes to Sweden, Germany, like parts of Europe, we've thought about creating a sister site and very simply using RSS feeds. So anything you post on the main site, Practically Viral, could then show up on that sister site that targets that language that targets those users. Another thing is it's as simple as adding like a translator button. So there's buttons. Like Google provides a button that's in the top right-hand corner of your website that you can check what country you're from. And I even think you can do it automatically based on location, and it will just change the words to your native language. But again, we've really just been focusing on the United States. And one thing to keep in mind is that different countries have different types of humor. Like I don't know if you've seen American comedies versus a British comedy. There are some subtle differences
Sure.
in what we think's funny and what they think's funny. So definitely.
But everybody likes babies and pets, so
But everyone likes babies.
Everyone loves
Everybody.
babies and pets.
I'd say it goes.
That is
I'd
the
say
number.
it goes pets first, babies second, and then old people third, and then sad, sappy stories.
Yeah, stuff like stories
Stories.
that like Upworthy.com shares, like people love those.
But if there's every once in a while you hit the jackpot and you find ways to combine, like you can find a baby with a puppy
wow,
that
that's
is
next level.
yeah, that is inspirational and is sappy with a good ending. And it's like, okay, game over. You might as well just throw it in the towel.
Another great example of that is I remember Talon was on the site Imager, and he found a picture of a homeless man and his dog, and he was just like staring at it, and he was like, what can this be? What can this be? So then it occurred to him that, oh, I'm just going to find a bunch of pictures with homeless people and their dogs and write a story around it, and that became a really popular article for us.
Yeah, so it's not like we're just going and copying and pasting. That's one thing I want to note is that, yes, a lot of people do tend to embed videos, like you can embed a YouTube video that's on someone else's blog, and you can find inspiration in other blogs. And we've found that there is some success in that, but where you really win is creating like your own content where other people then are copying yours. So what I mean by that is that if you can go to Imgur, find a great photo, then get inspired to write a whole article of just homeless men and the people and their dogs, and you'll find that if you're first to market with that type of content, you will see the benefits more than just like, well, I saw on Board Panda that they posted you know, 10 tiny homes. Well, you know, if you just basically do exactly what they did with different photos and a different title, you may not get the same traction. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, we've been talking about it, and then the vast majority of your traffic's social media. The direct is you do have some repeat, but the vast majority are the new sessions.
And something to note here, and sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Something to
Sure.
note here is that social traffic. The reason why it is so high is that, and this is going back to how we write our articles. For us, you know, social is kind of like a place where you share things that, it's kind of like high school. It's a place where you share things that are relatable to you because you want to share and have it relate to your own experiences or an experience you have with your friend, or your friend has a dog that looks like the dog in this post or what have you. So when we write things, we try to find subjects going back to babies and puppies and things like that that spark human emotion that are relatable. So in turn, you will like to share them on social media platforms with your friends because anyway, that's the reason why our social traffic is so high. We literally try to write posts that people want to share, if that makes sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but I can really dive into it. But there is a strategy behind writing a post that people want to share and just writing a post.
We can do that in a different platform.
Cool.
I appreciate it, and
So,
it's apparent that you have a. I mean, this is kind of you do work in social media, so that's fine. Well,
yeah,
that's beyond the scope of the
cool.
presentation here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you
Um,
can always. Sorry, I talk a lot, Adam. You can always just tell
no,
me.
that's fine. No, you're doing fine.
Yep, my track.
The Why just Facebook, other than it has pictures and all that? I mean, why not some of the other ones?
We haven't really focused, to be honest, like going back to how someone could really take this to the next level. We haven't focused on, I think one platform that could do really well is Twitter. People do share articles on Twitter,
Sure.
but you know, we don't get a lot of traffic from it. We don't personally use Twitter for the blog. I do know that Facebook obviously does the best. Pinterest is one that we don't target at all. Um, Tumblr, I would say, is probably it's one of the fastest growing networks in this demographic, which in our demographic for our blog. So I definitely recommend someone, you know, really focusing on new, avenues of, bringing in, you know, new acquisition avenues, for bringing in traffic and building up new profiles and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like, because we've spent so much time focusing on Facebook, and if someone takes, the same amount of time and focuses on the other social media platforms, I mean, I guarantee that you're going to see success. We just personally don't have the time to do it with our full-time jobs.
Makes sense, and that's good. And you don't do much. You don't have a backlink strategy. You're not doing any link exchanges or anything like that.
And this is interesting because this is something that we know if we focused, I would say before even focusing on other social networks besides Facebook, the first thing I would do is optimize this website for SEO because people are looking for, I think we have, I don't know how many articles we have at this point. I know it's,
I think it's like 700 or something
yeah,
like that.
it's pretty big. So with that being said, someone could easily come in, optimize this site, and really focus on SEO. I think they would see huge growth in numbers. Like, I mean, I'm saying like explosion of growth on just monthly uniques. So yeah, that's something we've never focused on at all. So everything you're seeing here on this slide has nothing to do with us because we know nothing about SEO and how it
Okay.
works.
All right.
So
That's not a
yeah.
bad thing. It's a relatively young site, and you have people wanting to be associated with you. That's good. These slides, to be candid with you, well, this one, it's Reddit, obviously, and that's huge.
Mhm.
These sites are more relevant if you were doing something to obtain that, but it just simply has just speaking that this is yet another avenue where someone can delve into. So that's a good thing.
Oh, definitely.
Um, Okay, SEMrush and Majestic SEO. We'll get all that. I mean, reasonably stable here. Was there something specifically in September that happened, or what?
Again, you're saying that spike
Sure.
right there in traffic.
Yeah.
We just had a post that just decided to just skyrocket, what we were doing. I mean, I think at the beginning, like I said, it was just kind of myself and Brian, just kind of figuring out what worked. And as we started to really figure out, you know, what types of posts do the best, what types of titles, what types of images, once we really figured out the formula, I mean, it just really started to go from there. I mean, obviously, again, because we call these viral sites, you're going to see a lot of ups and downs, spikes, and that's just because we're not a top 5 site, and we're more like you see one of our stories crossing through your newsfeed, you like it, you click it, you read it, you like it, you share it. You don't go to practically viral every day, I guess.
Hmm.
So,
I'm sure
but
there's a
that
handful of people that do, but in general, it's
in
going to
general,
be.
yeah, and that with that being said, doesn't mean that it can't become that. It's just that we don't put out, we only put out like 3 or 4 posts a day, and if to be a top 5 site, you need to put out like 10 to 25, if not 50 posts a day, where it's just constantly new content. As a user, you come back every couple hours because you just want to see what the new thing is. So
Okay. Um, Ranking. I mean, you're not doing any AdWords or anything like that. It's not really. This really. It's not all that relevant. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So
Okay.
nothing here. And you mentioned this as far as traffic goes. It's a
yeah, it
lot
just
of it,
spikes.
not all of it, is just what gets picked up and what doesn't. The great thing about it is just the looks very consistent as far as the uniques over the last quarter of 2014.
Yeah, I mean
Hmm.
it goes ups
Yeah.
and downs, but if you look at it on a like from afar versus up close, you can see that it is, you know, curving up. It's just in that curve up, there's ups and downs, if that makes sense,
Right.
when you look up close. But you know, again,
But a lot of that has to do with the amount of time that you put into the site, the amount of time that you spend writing articles, how many articles you're writing. Because there's some months where work is slower for us, and we can focus a lot of time on the site, and then when we're really busy and we can only do 1 to 2 posts a day, naturally, the more it's like fishing, the more hooks in the water, the more fish you're going to catch. So I would just suggest that write as many posts as possible, and that'll give you the greatest opportunity to see the spikes.
Okay. Uh, I mean, the general graph is very similar um, to what we were discussing with the uniques. As far as the relationship between the uniques and the page views, the visitors and the amount of pages they're viewing, is there anything you'd like to talk about regarding that?
yeah. So that is something that someone could definitely capitalize on. We just installed a plugin recently where a user could basically, rather than have a list of information or list of like a listicle of photos on one post, you could actually, it's actually just as simple as uploading the photos, and they could I don't know how you like check an arrow, and so you get a page view for every single time someone's looking at the new photo in that list, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
so if it's an article and if it has 26 pages, like hey, 26, I don't know,
Dogs.
26 puppies on Christmas morning or something like that. So one person visits the article, you're actually going to get 26 page views for that single unique, which has been really beneficial.
And we haven't even, again, another thing, we just kind of started messing around with it because we do understand more page views equals more revenue equals longer time on site. Again, that and SEO are two areas we have not focused on because we are just haven't had the time, nor do we really know what we're doing. So someone who's really knows what they're doing in this field could do some damage. So.
I also wanted to touch on one more thing as far as the sessions on the site. One thing that we really have seen a ton of success in is if we have a particular article that is going viral, like Tom was saying, like the 600,000 uniques in a month or something like that. What we'll actually do is we'll write a similar article, kind of in the same vein. So if it is a puppy post, we'll write another puppy post, and what we'll do is we'll edit the article, and at the bottom of that particular article that's going viral, we'll write something like, if you love this post, then you'll love this post, or bonus post at the end of this one. And then we'll actually link to the new article on the article that's going viral with a link and a picture. And so what happens is with the huge amount of traffic that's on the post that's going viral, a large majority of those people will click the bonus post that's on that page. So essentially, like, you can kind of have a viral post make another post go semi-viral for the duration that it's popping.
Okay. Now this is where I'm going to mute myself completely and just say
Okay.
next when you're done talking about a slide.
Okay.
Just from a timing standpoint and how we kind of you're doing fine on time. So just say what you want about each slide and just continue on. And and just simply say next, and I'll advance it.
Okay, so that sounds good. So this is the homepage of our backend. We use WordPress. I'm sure most of you who use blogs are familiar with WordPress and its backend, but this is what you see when you first log in. We can go to the next slide.
And I just want to note there that there's 783 posts that we've written.
Oh man,
we've written so many.
Where did my life go?
I know, puppies and babies.
This is a list of all the posts. You can see some are in draft, some have already been published. Yeah, you can go to the next one.
Yeah, there's not really much here. You can go next.
This is an individual post in the back end, so this is what it looks like. Right now we're testing out, again, we're always trying to figure out, different titles and stuff and what works and what doesn't. And one thing to note here is currently we're testing out actually using the word video in parentheses or watch when it's a video, but prior to the title, as it really, it's a kind of a call to action that on Facebook people tend to see first before they even read the title, and they'll try to click it. So we're just testing out different ways to drive traffic and call to actions. You can go to the next one. These are plugins. Plugins are like little widgets. Think of them like apps for your iPhone, except they're apps for WordPress. And so, rather than have to hire coders to or developers to build a lot of these things custom, a lot of these things have already been built, which is amazing. And you just search, add them, deactivate them. You can edit them. And really, this is what we've used to, we haven't done anything special. We haven't, had, any special developers, do anything. It's just been using plugins and things like that.
And these plugins can be anything. Just to give you a general idea of what these plugins do, these can be anything from the Facebook button and the Twitter button that are alongside the article, so that people can easily share to their social media, or like the Facebook pop-up plugin that I was talking about earlier in the presentation, which directs people to like the Facebook page or to share the article, that kind of stuff.
We can go to the next one.
So these are themes. There's really not much here. Basically, we use the theme called, what is that, Hero?
Yeah. So we took a theme called Hero. We just changed some of the colors just because we like the layout. And, feel free to test out. I mean, to be honest, if it was up to us and we had some more time and some more resources, we would probably redevelop the homepage and make it more of like trending blocks of content as a way to kind of say these are the articles that are new, these are the ones that are trending, and these are the ones that have gone viral or are hot, and
Right,
really
right.
trying to, you know, be this is more along the lines of becoming a top 5 daily destination blog. We just haven't had the time, the resources to do that, but again, that's something someone for probably $1,000 can get done, no problem, and they'll see traffic just and return visitors,
I think the return visitors would be the key one on that one.
yeah. We're good on this slide,
Yeah,
Adam.
you can go next.
These are just photos that we've uploaded. This is our media library, so when you upload a photo for a post, it goes here. So, and
And
keep in
then,
mind that all photos we post, they either have Creative Commons license, or we give credit. That's just because you need to make sure that, per internet laws, you give credit or link back to the original, where you found the photo, or even better would be linking back to the person who actually took the photo. So, the next slide.
I just unmuted myself. Here is the track of the revenue. The you know as a as mentioned, there is a relationship that the site has, Talon and Brian has. This is the total amount of revenue that the site makes per month, and then in the expenses section, it shows that we took 25% of each dollar of revenue that was made for each month. That's expense as it relates to you pay a company, Liberty, to go ahead and place ads for you. So the first thing, and I'll have you get a little bit more into that relationship on the next slide with expenses. The question obviously is, the traffic seems reasonably stable and such. Why the decrease in revenue here over the
Yeah,
past
so
couple?
decrease in revenue, in this case, is our traffic has kind of slowed down in December, and page views, and this is because it's twofold. First off, we didn't do very much in December just because we had been traveling, for personal reasons because of the holidays, and two, was because it's one of the slower months for traffic in general on the internet, because after Christmas, people kind of just tend to take a couple weeks to get off and zone out. I know that this
yeah,
doesn't.
less people on the internet means less people on the site in general.
And also, this is Facebook continues to change their algorithm, so it doesn't mean it's an issue in the long run, but it means trying to figure out, what is Facebook doing, and why are posts showing up to who and for how long in feeds. So,
Mhm.
it's just trying to
So,
stay on
so
top.
on the Facebook thing, yeah, on the Facebook thing, with a little research, every month you can kind of see what other people are experiencing and where other people are finding success. So I would suggest that.
Yeah, like for example, 3 months ago, Facebook's algorithm to determine what posts show up in people's feeds is just based on clicks. So if you got someone to click your post, it was going to show up in other people's feeds. Now it's then for a while it was time on site. So what that meant is if someone clicked your post and they were on it for 5 minutes and they bounced, or one second and they bounced, then Facebook knows that it's not good content. But if they're on it for 2 minutes, a minute, 3 minutes, then it's a quality piece of content that other people should want to see. So it's just figuring out, staying ahead of the game. It's really not a big issue, but yeah,
Yeah.
those are kind of the factors as to one thing we really pride ourselves on is we want to be as transparent as possible with the buyer. We don't want, to hide anything, and we don't want to, sell something that we don't feel like, we're everything you're seeing is what you're getting. So yeah,
Yeah.
next slide. That's all I got for that.
I just muted myself. The expenses are, follow the same graph there. Discuss about your relationship with Liberty, please.
Yeah, so we were making pretty good money on our own using Google AdSense, but it became apparent to Brian and I that, well, if we had mobile ads versus this type of ad versus, there were so many different factors, there were so many different types of ads, there were so many different, things involved that we actually are working with a company called WP Engine. They're the largest WordPress hosting company, and basically they said, hey guys, your traffic is just growing. You guys need to grow your revenue and have an opportunity to. And Brian and I said, well, we don't really know how to do that. So they said, look, we work with this company. They're called Liberty and Liberty Alliance, Liberty Media, and they manage all of our ads. So they're constantly testing out, new ads, new types of ads, cost per clicks, cost per thousand impressions, working with
And
advertisers.
on top of that too, they're constantly monitoring which type of ads are gaining the highest CPMs, which is the money you make per thousand views. And so they're constantly tweaking the ads to give us the highest yield every month.
Yeah,
And
and
so we don't even have to worry about that, which is great.
yeah, and the great thing, so for guys like us, this situation and this partnership works great, because we don't know what we're doing. But for someone who has a strong understanding of advertising, digital display advertising, click click advertising and cost per thousand impression advertising, you can do a lot of damage here. You don't have to. I mean, those revenues you see we're making, with only the 75% that we're taking. So with that being said, if you knew what you were doing, you could recoup that additional 25%, no problem. If not make more, it's just a matter of we don't know what we're doing, so we would rather give up 25% to someone who does, because we found that we've made more money by having them handle it than if we did it on our own. Even with the
Absolutely.
20, even with the 25%. So yeah, they send you a check. It's a great. I mean, they do all the math. They hunt down people and they send you a check. It's great.
Makes
And
sense.
they also we actually work with them through Google Docs, and they're really good about updating our revenue on a daily basis, even multiple times a day. It's really nice.
And like we'll tell them sometimes that a post is sorry, Adam. We'll tell them sometimes that a post is going viral, quote unquote, and they'll then be able to optimize that post to make sure we get the maximum amount of revenue on that post. So yeah.
How many hours? But let me qualify the question. I mean, an hour of everybody's time as an equal. It really depends upon your skill set. You both said you work in the SEO field. Maybe spend a moment telling us what you do, and then telling us the day-to-day operation, how what someone can expect when they own it.
Yeah, so sorry to confuse you. We're both working social media. I have my own agency, work with numerous media and entertainment companies, and then Brian.
I work for a company called Fishbowl Media, and basically, we produce many reality television shows, stuff like that. And so, a lot of my time is spent, producing digital content for those shows, as well as managing social media pages for them.
And so the number of hours that we do, I wouldn't even say it's daily. It's really weekly. I mean, you can either if you I work on it about 45 minutes to an hour a day.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right.
And I'd say I do it in the morning. And the reason why is because when you get in, you're trying to figure out what posts are going to go viral that day. And
Yeah, what's trending today?
You want to be one of the first to market. So by the time
Yes. And like with that hour of time, if you write 2, 3, 4 articles, then what you can do is you can publish them to the site, you can schedule them for the site, and then you can synchronize them with the Facebook page as well, so that your whole day is scheduled just from that hour of work, so that you're not constantly writing articles all day. If that
And the
makes sense.
great thing is that where we get these articles from, or where we get inspired by to write these articles, Brian and I go to these websites anyway for our own reading, viewing pleasure in the morning as top 5 blogs. So we go through our top 5 blogs that we would read anyway. Mashable, BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed's always a little late, but like Mashable, Reddit, Imgur, um, what else?
Huffington Post,
Huffington Post, Distractify, um, even just
Upworthy.
finding inspiration in our own Facebook newsfeed. I mean, we find that a lot of articles that, if people are sharing an article in your newsfeed and you're like, wow, this is something interesting, people obviously have interest in sharing it, you should definitely kind of write your own angle to the story. Um,
Yeah, or like if something huge is trending, like a good example is when Robin Williams died this year. I mean, everyone was talking about that. Everyone was searching for it. So we took upon ourselves to write a really, really great article, about his life, his career, his impact on us, as children, stuff like that.
yeah. And or for example, Christmas just came around, so you want to do lots of articles in relation to, like there was a video that went viral of it was a compilation of children opening up presents, and they turn out to be puppies, getting puppies for Christmas, and it did really well. So you know it really does not require that much time to generate the revenues that we currently have. But with that being said, I think that if someone really wanted to purchase this site and take it to the next level, that would really be, the goal here is not just doing what we're currently doing, but really saying, all right, this is an opportunity to take this to the next level and really make this a business. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Great answers. You've touched
Yeah.
upon this a bit, but what are some things that you could see if you were to continue owning it? What would you do as far as growing the site?
So a couple things. Starting with the site, I would redo the homepage with new articles, trending articles, and hot articles, and try to establish it as a top 5 website. Just starting off with the actual design of the site. Then from there, I would work on SEO. I would probably hire like an SEO agency or unless I knew how to do it, I would you know, optimize the site because we have so much content. Um, the third thing I would do is then I would grow. I would spend some money on Facebook ads and really trying to grow the 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 reach of our Facebook page, as well as I would invest in growing other social media platforms, which include um, Tumblr, Twitter, and Pinterest. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that, writing more articles is an obvious one. Um, you know, Trying to stay on the pulse of maybe branching out. I would organize the site a little better. Currently, the site is, you know, very broad. So, ideas we've had were like, creating different verticals. So if you really love pets, it would be practicallyviral.com/pets, and just, but really even breaking that down into dogs, cats, rabbits, monkeys, whatever it is, and really targeting and then creating separate Facebook pages for all of those specific,
Hmm.
practically viral pets, practically viral, you know, videos, practically viral what the fuck, on Facebook or on across social media, because some people just want all the pet articles and some people just want all the kid articles and the baby articles, and so if you can narrow or narrow your subject matter. With that being said, I think you'll see a lot more growth, if that makes sense. Again, these
Yeah,
are
that's
all
good.
things that whoever purchases the site, we will go through, walk you through in more detail. We're being very vague because we obviously don't want to give away all of our secret sauce, but we can walk you through all the sites we go through. We can walk you through how we craft posts, what kind of posts do the best, what kinds of titles do the best, structures of titles, um, images, Facebook algorithms, anything, that we do, we can pass along.
Okay. Why are you selling?
So we're selling because it's twofold. First off, Brian and I just have full-time jobs, and to be honest, for us, it was something that we were doing. We were just doing for fun, and it became kind of bigger than just for fun. And to be honest, Brian and I just don't really have a lot of passion or experience in content creation on the writing side. On the video side, we have a ton of experience and a lot of passion, but on the writing side, it's just something we're not really passionate about in terms of growing. And so, I think with the right person and the right vision, the right passion, they could really take this to the next level. And Brian and I just, don't have, I guess, the oomph or the experience to really know how to do this and scale it correctly.
I think the site would just be better in someone else's hands who really wants to grow this thing to the next level. I think that's plain and simple.
Okay. And I see in both Talon and Brian, you've been great about being proactive with some questions that have come in, and I've worked a couple that have come in that you haven't. Last call for questions for anyone listening. But Talon and Brian, you've been very good about addressing those. If they come in, my information, which is also in the listing page, it's Adam Beebe. That's my cell phone right there, US. And it's adam@latonas.com. My Skype is adam.latonas. Reach out to me if you have or will sign an NDA. I can send you a prospectus we have on file for the site. And anyone listening now, if you would like to listen to the recording, it should or will be up within 24 hours on latonas.com. I don't see any other questions, Brian and Talon. I appreciate it. You guys did a great job.
Awesome.
I advance as I always accidentally do, so the slideshow's ended. But that was all we had. So appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Reach out to me. Let me know of anything.